He is the youngest soldier in the history of the Soviet Union's resistance against the war. This is a true story. A few days ago, he was just an ordinary child from an ordinary family, but a German air raid took away his loved ones. A neighbor risked her life to protect him and let him escape into the forest. But the forest is still full of danger for young Sergei. At least it allowed him to escape the plunder of the German army. His body, hungry, the muddy environment, and the occasional flying bombs are all severe tests for Sergei. On this day, he encountered 3 German soldiers. Luckily, his small stature allowed him to hide in a tree hole. But in this tree hole, there was also a venomous snake. Compared to the snake, the German invaders were even more brutal. Finally, he managed to outlast the German soldiers. He quickly ran to the riverbank. The leftover food from the German soldiers became the only food he had eaten in days. The lonely Sergei grew up quickly. He learned to protect himself with tree branches, but no matter what, he was still just a child. Without food and without a source of water, Sergei eventually collapsed. A hedgehog crawled past him. Sergei said to the hedgehog, "Who is this man?" The footsteps are getting closer. The unconscious Sergei has been found. Luckily, it's a Soviet reconnaissance soldier. Perhaps it really is a letter carried by a hedgehog. The weak Sergei is brought back to the camp. In this unfamiliar environment, unfamiliar faces, Sergei is full of panic. When he hears familiar language, he slowly lets his guard down again. He shakes hands with Commander Kuz like an adult. But when a soldier asks about his parents, Sergei sheds tears. The soldiers attach great importance to Sergei's arrival. After hearing the news, the cook brings a lot of food. In their spare time, they discuss Sergei. An uncle even carves a whistle for Sergei. At the frontline hospital, Aunt Carl gently treats him. Kuz also comes to visit Sergei frequently. Everyone likes him very much. No matter what era it is, children represent the hope of a nation. Sergei's arrival constantly reminds the soldiers why they are fighting. As a 6-year-old child, Sergei likes guns. He likes tanks, because even he knows that they have to rely on soldiers to defeat fascism with weapons. But children ultimately do not belong on the front lines. Kuz wants to send Sergei away. Karga tells him in the current situation, where else can the next orphan be sent to be safe? It's better to stay by his side. Do your best to protect him. Moreover, children don't belong on the front lines. Who else belongs here? The day Sergei left, eyes filled with reluctance, Kuz gave him a wooden pistol. But Sergei still wanted to stay here. Kuz made a decision to leave Sergei behind, to recognize him as a son. This little boy shuttles through the battlefield amidst the roar of gunfire. Although he is the youngest soldier here, he is also an outstanding soldier. Sergei has already experienced many battles. After Uncle Taylor made his military uniform overnight, he gradually grew into a qualified soldier. The first challenge to becoming a qualified soldier is to put on clothes within a matchstick. Obviously, in this aspect, 6-year-old Sergei needs his commanding officer dad to go easy on him. With care, he regains his lost childhood innocence. He will shuttle and play among the soldiers at the camp. When facing real war for the first time, he was terrified and at a loss from the thunderous sound of artillery shells. Hiding in the trenches, afraid to look up, but his growth was rapid. Watching the wounded soldiers after the battle, he gradually understood the cruelty of war. He started helping the wounded soldiers by giving them water. Using his limited knowledge, he read letters from home to the blind soldiers. Standing on a stump, he sings hometown ballads for all the soldiers protecting their homeland. After the battle ends, Sergei and his father arrive at a ruin. In the shell hole, there is a destroyed sewing machine. It belonged to the Taylor uncle. But at this time, the Taylor uncle and the sewing machine have been destroyed together. He imitates the commander's manner. He takes off his hat, paying tribute to the tailor. Little Sergei tries his best to look like an adult, like a soldier. He would imitate his commander father's manner and shave in front of the mirror. He would also take the binoculars given to him by his scout uncle and observe the surroundings in a professional manner. As a result, Sergei actually discovers a pair of moving boots in a haystack near the camp. He reports the news to his scout uncle. Under his guidance, they find 2 German soldiers in the haystack. These 2 people are here to scout the Soviet camp. Then they send a telegram to the Germans for an airstrike. Sergei achieves great success. After this, every day, Sergei comes to the command post early to receive tasks from his father. The most common task he does is delivering letters to every soldier. Every time they see Sergei carrying a mailbag, the soldiers are all very happy, because Sergei brings news from home. Little Sergei also jokes with the soldiers. He makes them dance before they collect their letters. But sometimes delivering letters makes Sergei unable to laugh. When he shouts the names of some soldiers but gets no response, he would do as his father taught him. He takes off his hat, paying tribute to the fallen soldiers. Little Sergei dragged an ammunition box through the trench. He brought bullets for the machine gunner. The shells shook him to the point of ringing in his ears. The machine gunner told him that opening his mouth wide would reduce the roar. Then he told Sergei to go back to the command post and hide. Sergei was very unwilling. He was also a soldier, but soldiers must obey orders. so he could only reluctantly return to the command post. Dad Kuz is constantly dispatching the battlefield, but suddenly the communication line was blown up. Communication is too important for the outcome of a war. They have already sent out 2 soldiers, but there was still no response. Kuz issued an order: restore communication at all costs. Sergei took the opportunity to run out while no one was paying attention. Along the communication line, Sergei kept shuttling back and forth in the trenches. In the end, he even climbed out of the trench. This was too dangerous on a battlefield full of shells. He crawled forward on the ground. He finally found the previous signalman. Then he skillfully climbed into the shell hole. He woke up the unconscious signalman. Finally, under the guidance of the signalman's uncle, Sergei connected the wires together. The communication at the headquarters was restored to normal. After this battle, Kuz received orders from the general: withdraw to the division headquarters, transfer to another battlefield. When passing by a village during the rest stop, observant Sergei discovered a dummy bomb dropped by the German Air Force. This is a very big threat, because Sergei took this dud shell out of the village. The journey afterwards, they stepped on a German landmine. Sergei's favorite uncle died on the spot. Commander Dad was also injured. Finally, they successfully reunited with their master. Sergei will still go to his dad to receive missions. This mission is to check if a battalion's equipment needs replenishment. Sergei ran out nimbly. All the soldiers like him very much. Someone even brought him chocolate. Sergei really wanted to eat it, but he couldn't. He restrained a very serious gathering of troops, taking stock of the damage to each soldier and the required supplies. Then, unable to write, he quietly had a soldier who could write prepare the report for him, handing it over to the general. Then the driver made a request to the general, arranged a marriage for Dad, turned Aunt Karga into his mom. The general awarded Sergei a medal. All the soldiers looked at him with grateful eyes. He was not only the commander's adopted son, he was also the son of the entire regiment. Another battle began. Shells fell. He found cover as soon as possible, quickly engage in battle, and help his comrades, although he was only 6 years old. But he had already been forced to become a qualified soldier. This film is based on a true story of a real person in 1942. Sergei experienced the Second World War. He passed away in 1990. However, according to statistics, 13 million children forever remained at that age during World War II. See you in the next episode.